We found some of Crete's jewels, and we packed them into 3 fun-filled days. Hania has to be one of the nicest harbors and associated walking towns that we have visited throughout Greece. The Imbros Gorge is not only visually stunning, but it holds an important historic story that ties Australians, New Zealanders, and Brits to the island of Crete forever. And finally, there are some pretty cool ruins. So, let's go. We just drove out of the marina at Rethymno, and here's the Venetian fortification. There's a small little Venetian harbor inside there. So we are now heading around this peninsula out here that is hard to see because it's so hazy today. We're going to go up around this peninsula and then back down almost the same latitude and go to Hania, city of Hania. Hi, I'm Karen, and my husband is Tom. Welcome to Life 4.0, where we share our experiences of living aboard Searose, our 44-foot sailboat, while we travel together to new and exciting destinations. What's with the name 4.0, you ask? Well, we both enjoyed careers in the software industry, so thinking about life in iterations or phases, well, versions if you will, came natural to us.
We are anchored in Castos.
Life 4.0 finds us taking an early retirement so we can travel and explore while we have the health and energy to do this in the way that we want. We spend about half of each year on our sailboat and the rest enjoying land-based living and exploration with a home based in the northeast of the United States. We hope you enjoy our Life 4.0 as you think about shaping your own. There is only one go at this thing called life. Make the most of it. As we round the peninsula, we see caves at the waterline for much of the way along this unpopulated landscape. With large settlements scattered all along the isthmus that connects this land to the main part of Crete, we were surprised at the lack of habitation. We got Searose settled stern to in the inner harbor of Hania and began drinking in the sights. We again consider ourselves lucky to be sailing with so few other cruising boats, since this allowed us to easily get a place on this very coveted dock.
We're in the harbor of Hania, and quite a bit of space here in the kind of outer harbor, and then we're inside beyond that powerboat. The marina guy, the marina office, where you pay your dockage fee, is in this mosque building up ahead. Can't say that I've ever gone to a marina office in a mosque, so that'll be a first. A couple ruins mixed in with all the contemporary buildings.
The next morning, Tom flew the drone early to take advantage of the great light. The nearby birds were not happy with the competition, so he had to dodge past them and land to try another approach. We have heard about bird attacks causing drones to crash, and with the water below, Tom hoped to avoid this fate. Directly in front of the drone camera, right there, are boat building sheds from Venetian times. We saw models of these in the Maritime Museum in town. For all 3 nights that we stayed on the dock, we strolled the town each night. There were lively squares and wonderful restaurants scattered for blocks in all directions, and the area had a bohemian feel that we learned is a result of having a university that calls Hania home. Hania is also used as a base from which tours leave for the many gorge hikes, which are a major attraction for tourists visiting Crete. There are over 400 canyons clawing the landscape, earning Crete the name King of the Gorges. The high mountains of the island combined with seismic activity and thousands of years of rains to produce some wonderful natural spectacles. The gorge we picked to hike was Imbros. It had the perfect mix of adventure and history. Okay, we're just starting out in the Ambrose Gorge. It's supposed to be a 2-hour hike down to the ocean, and then everybody sort of hops in a taxi or back of a pickup truck and comes back up to the parking lot where we parked at a taverna. It's supposed to get quite steep and narrow, so the gorges are famous in Crete, and we're going to try to figure out why. In May of 1941, soldiers from Crete, Australia, New Zealand, and England fought against the Germans in the battle for Crete. It didn't last long, but it was very fierce. Once the Germans secured the airfield near Hania, it became harder to hold Crete, and in a matter of days, it was necessary for the Allied forces to retreat and be evacuated. At that time, the Imbros Gorge Mule Trail was the only connection between Hania and Hora, the harbor on the south shore of Crete from which evacuations would take place. This mule trail was used by several thousands of Allied soldiers in those late May days, 80 years before the making of this video. After days of battling, followed by a strenuous hike, these brave Australians, New Zealanders, and Brits were rescued by ship and transported to Egypt. This is neat. Oh geez, there's a bunch up in there. Did you see them? Oh, there's some little black goats right over here. Okay. This is off the side. Tom was saying there's probably a waterfall there in the rainy season. And now we're getting into some shade. It's supposed to get to be, in some areas, just like 2 meters wide, so I don't know if we're there yet. This is cool. Oh, they're all over. All over. Of course, Tom's gonna have to make one.
Yeah.
Where to?
There's clearly a spot that needs one. That's really good. Whoops.
Oh boy.
Nope.
There we go. Anything else? You silly. Ah. Okay.
Done.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Throughout our hike, we thought of the soldiers' journey and the very likely hardships they endured. We are walking on a maintained trail after having had a good night's sleep in a bed. They were ragged, hungry, thirsty, and being pursued. We understand there have been many pilgrimages made to this gorge from among the thousands of descendants of those who passed through here in 1941. I'll put a link in the video description in case you would like to learn more about this historic occurrence. The light in here is great. We got a little echo, a little overhang, trees above, tons of rocks. Oh, this is amazing. Tom's trying to set up a little portrait. really good. Can't quite figure out what it smells like. Maybe a thyme. There's so many different types of thyme, but I'll have to go back and look it up. Figure it out. This looks like a sage. This one doesn't really smell. So this one doesn't really smell, but this one does. It smells great. All right, Tom's putting together his drone over here, and it should be pretty cool to fly it here. Clouds going overhead. Pretty darn sunny right now. Somewhere over there, there's a goat. I hear the bell, but I don't see the goat. So there's all these goats right up here on the side of the cliff. It's amazing. They just stand on a teeny little sheer piece of something. So that's where they were. I heard their bells all ringing. And they're hanging out there in a little bit of shade. Just gripping right to the side. Just went out at the gate, and this is sort of the runoff of the gorge. And around the corner up here, we'll see out over the water. These are actually called the White Mountains, which is pretty interesting because the mountains we live near in New Hampshire are called the White Mountains. We paid a restaurant owner to take us from where we exited the gorge, not far from the sea, back to where we had left our car. On the way toward the hike earlier in the day, we had passed through this beautiful, agriculturally rich valley, and plopped right in the center of it was a round hill, topped with ruins that caught the eye. We later learned that this was one of the many couledes, or small forts, that were built by the Ottomans between 1867 and 1869 during the Cretan Revolution. The network of forts consisted of about 150 couplings. Some were little more than small outposts, but some were central couledes that were small fortresses like this one, which housed large Turkish units while they ruled these areas. Most of these were destroyed by Cretans after the withdrawal of the Turkish army in 1898. Staying with the theme of interesting ruins, we'll end by showing ruins that have been artistically integrated with today's lifestyle. Enjoy! Join us next time as we spend a couple days at the rustically stunning Gram Vousa. That is certainly another jewel of Crete, so don't miss it.